Yeah, it's exciting. First and foremost, obviously disappointing to lose someone like Darnell and the rest of the guys, but it's part of the business, unfortunately. Nurse's been hard to really put into words what Nurse's been to not only me but the whole group and everybody in Edmonton. So extremely disappointed to see that happen, but at the same time, really excited about some of the additions. New coach, some good players. It's an exciting time in Edmonton.
For 13 seasons, two kids from Ontario walked into Rogers Place as rookies with nothing but potential and a shared dream. Now, only one of them remains. This is the story of how the Edmonton Oilers just tore apart one of the most loyal partnerships in modern hockey, and why Connor McDavid's own words are hinting at something bigger happening behind the scenes. Let's rewind. It's 2015. A skinny 18-year-old named Connor McDavid steps onto Oilers ice as the most hyped prospect in a generation. Beside him, quietly grinding out his second full NHL season, is a hard-nosed defenseman named Darnell Nurse. Nobody outside Edmonton is talking about Nurse that year. All eyes are on McDavid. But behind the scenes, these two are building something the fans won't fully understand for another decade, a bond forged in the trenches of a rebuilding franchise, 2 Stanley Cup final runs, and years of criticism, doubt, and grit. Fast forward to 2024 and 2025. The Oilers make back-to-back trips to the Stanley Cup final. McDavid is the captain. Nurse is the alternate captain, the physical anchor of the blue line, the guy logging heavy minutes every single night. He's blocking shots, throwing hits, and doing it without missing games. In 4 years, he sits out only 7 times. This is not a role player. This is one of the most durable, dependable pieces of the Oilers' championship puzzle. But championships have a price. And in Edmonton, that price came due this summer. On July 1st, General Manager Stan Bowman made a call that shook the fanbase to its core. Darnell Nurse, the 7th overall pick from 2013, the guy who grew up alongside McDavid in that Oilers jersey, was traded to the San Jose Sharks. In return, Edmonton got a defenseman named Shakir Mukhamadullin and a prospect, Zachary Sharp. On paper, it's a hockey trade. In reality, it's the end of an era. Because here's the thing fans need to understand. This wasn't just about points or performance. Nurse's best defensive season came back in 2022-23, when he racked up 43 points across all 82 games. But since then, his production had been sliding. And in the most painful stretch of all, the 2026 playoffs, he didn't register a single point as the Oilers were bounced in the first round by the Anaheim Ducks. That loss stung even more because it was the first time since 2020-21 that Edmonton failed to get out of round 1. Something had to change. And when a $9.25 million cap hit is sitting on a declining defenseman, the front office starts making phone calls. So Bowman made the move. He cleared Nurse's money off the books. He gave the Oilers breathing room to chase free agents and reshape the roster around McDavid's remaining championship window. From a pure business standpoint, it's the kind of decision GMs are paid to make. But then came the moment everyone was waiting for. What would Connor McDavid actually say about losing his oldest teammate? He didn't dodge the question. On Monday, at the Zach Hyman Celebrity Classic, reporters got him on the record, and what he said cut right through the usual athlete small talk. McDavid didn't pretend it was business as usual. He admitted flat out that it's difficult to watch someone like Nurse leave, calling it disappointing to lose him and the other departing players, while acknowledging that this is simply part of the business. But then his tone shifted into something heavier, something more personal. He said it was hard to put into words what Nurse has meant not just to him, but to the entire group and everyone in the Edmonton organization, and that he was, in his own words, extremely disappointed to see it happen. Think about that phrase for a second. Extremely disappointed. This is a captain who has lifted trophies, broken records, and faced media scrutiny his entire career. He doesn't usually let emotions slip through in press conferences. But here, he did. And that tells you everything about what Darnell Nurse actually meant inside that locker room. It wasn't just about hockey either. Years earlier, when Nurse was first named alternate captain, McDavid praised the energy he brought to the rink every single day, the kind of presence teammates could feel in practice, in games, in the room. That's leadership you can't measure with a stat sheet. That's the kind of teammate who holds a locker room together during losing streaks and pushes it further during playoff runs. And now he's gone. But here's where the story takes a turn, because McDavid didn't stay in mourning for long. In the same breath, he pivoted toward excitement. He talked about the new additions coming to Edmonton. He mentioned a new coach stepping behind the bench. He called it an exciting time to be part of this organization. This is the classic push and pull of professional sports, grief for what was lost, colliding head-on with hope for what's coming next. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because this trade didn't happen in isolation. This is part of a larger shakeup happening across the entire Oilers roster. With Nurse now wearing teal in San Jose, there are only 2 players left on this Oilers roster who have been alongside McDavid since his very first season back in 2015, Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Think about that. An entire era, condensed down to just 2 survivors. And Nurse himself won't be able to avoid the reunion. The schedule makers didn't waste any time. He'll face his former team for the first time on October 10th out in San Jose. Then, in one of the most anticipated moments of the entire NHL calendar, he'll step back onto the ice at Rogers Place on January 13th, this time wearing the enemy's colors, in front of the fans who once considered him one of their own. Cameras will be on him. Cameras will be on McDavid. And every single person watching will be replaying this moment in their head. So what does this all mean for the Oilers going forward? It means Stan Bowman is betting big that a retooled, cheaper blue line and fresh additions can push Edmonton back to the top of the mountain after that gutting first-round exit. It means Connor McDavid is entering a new chapter of his career, one without the guy who's been by his side since day one. And it means the emotional cost of contention in the NHL is real. Even superstars have to watch their closest allies get shipped out the door in the name of building a winner. Is this the move that finally gets Edmonton back to the Stanley Cup? Or will trading away a decade of chemistry and leadership come back to haunt them when the lineup card gets read out in October? One thing is certain, when Darnell Nurse skates back into Rogers Place in January, it won't just be a regular season game. It'll be a reckoning. And Connor McDavid will be right there on the ice to feel every bit of it. Let's talk about what Edmonton actually gains here, because this trade isn't just about who left, it's about who's walking through the door. Shakir Mukhamadullin arrives as a younger, cheaper option on the blue line, someone with a different skill set than Nurse but with the upside to grow into a bigger role. Zachary Sharp comes in as a future piece, a prospect the organization believes can develop into something down the line. For a franchise chasing a championship right now, that patience is a gamble. Prospects take time. Chemistry takes time. And time is the one thing a team built around a 30-year-old superstar doesn't have much of. That's the tension sitting underneath every word McDavid said this week. He's watched this organization miss its window twice in the final. He's watched teammates come and go. And now he's watching the front office bet that a leaner, younger roster gives him a better shot than the group that just got knocked out in the first round. There's also the human side nobody talks about enough. Nurse and McDavid didn't just share a locker room. They shared a city, a fan base, years of media scrutiny, and the kind of pressure only a handful of athletes on Earth will ever understand. Losing that isn't like losing a coworker. It's losing a piece of your daily routine, your support system, the guy who understood exactly what you were going through because he was going through it too. So as training camp approaches, all eyes will be on how this new-look Oilers roster comes together and on whether Stan Bowman's gamble pays off before Connor McDavid's own prime window starts to close.